Welcome back, my friends, to the Derate The Hate podcast. I am your host, Wilk of WilksWorld.com, and I am so incredibly grateful that you are taking the time to join me for another powerful DTH episode. Friends, at the Derate The Hate podcast, it's all about bettering the world one attitude at a time. See, we did not create the hate, but with your help, we can derate the hate. That all starts with gratitude and personal accountability. We cannot control everything that happens to us in life, but we can control how we react to it. How we act, how we react, no matter what happens to us, how we react to it makes the difference. Friends, there is only one good thing about a bad attitude, and that is that we have the ability as individuals to change it. Here on the DTH podcast, we strive to bring you great guests and provide tools to do just that. Please be sure to share it with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Ratings and feedback are always greatly appreciated. And with that, let's get to this week's episode. Friends, many of you know, if you've been listening to me for very long, know about the work that I do with an organization called Braver Angels. Now, one of the reasons that I do the work I do with Braver Angels is because of my great passion for others who are out there putting in the work day in and day out to make the world in which we live a better place. Now, just this past week, I got back from the Braver Angels National Convention that was held in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And one of the things we were talking about is how we can rise for America. And how to build a movement, you need a network, a true network, to really build a movement. Now, with that being said, and I'll get back to the Braver Angels thing later, and actually, I'm probably going to have another episode out this week talking about that convention. But when I find other organizations doing incredible work to help the people, especially our veterans and our first responders, I love to highlight those people. I love to highlight those organizations. I heard about the We the People's Patriot Project for the first time when I was a guest on the Misfit Nation podcast with Rich LaMonica. Rich told me about this organization, and I knew right away that I had found a friend, even though I hadn't talked to him yet, because I started looking at the work that they've been doing, and the work is incredible. So this week, I've asked Mark Petersen, the founder, and Andrea Eichmann, their executive director, to join me on the Derate The Hate podcast to talk about the People's Patriot Project. Both Mark and Andrea have a long history of teaching, volunteering, and public service that they now utilize in their work to help those that do so much to help us. You're not going to want to miss this conversation, friends. Here we go. Andrea Eichmann and Mark Petersen of the People's Patriot Project, thank you so much for joining me on the Derate The Hate podcast. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you both joining me tonight.
Excited to be here.
For the invitation. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was on the Misfit Nation podcast a while back with our mutual friend Rich LaMonica, and great guy. I mean, had so much fun, good conversation. And before him and I wrapped up our conversation there, he told me about the People's Patriot Project. And right away, I knew it was something I wanted to know more about. I wanted to get to know who you were, what your mission was, what inspired you guys. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the Derate The Hate podcast, because as everybody knows, I mean, I'm all about bettering the world one attitude at a time, what we can do as individuals to make this world a better place. And there is nothing more important when it comes to making the world a better place than taking care of the veterans that take care of our country, the United States of America, the best country on the planet, and the veterans of our country, the people who have sacrificed and done what they've done for our country, and the People's Patriot Project doing incredible work. So let's start off with, I know Mark, you're the founder, Andrea, you're the executive director. Let's start off with which one of you wants to take first at bat here. Tell me a little bit about the People's Patriot Project and how this got started.
Just want to clarify the gigantic. So we also service first responders as well. We've come to find out the majority of first responders have prior service, and we work in the nuances of making sure that we're supporting the families, the people that are there, supporting those guys and gals, and then we also we're trying to reach out to we the people. The real name of our organization is called We the People, the People's Patriot Project. And it's kind of a homage of making sure we grab the reins and take care of what is ours as a country. And I don't think we're that far off, despite what the both polarity sides of this thing are doing. I think we're close. I really do. I love your piece in the conversation and the piece of just, it's one conversation, it's one relationship at a time. And it's just sitting back and just saying, you know what? We can get through this together. So this is the, I served 14 years in the Army. I was an artilleryman. No deployments. My deployments were all stateside, even through the Desert Storm and Iraqi Freedom. I was with the Red Bull division, and we did logistics from the States. And so I don't claim to have any deployments. We did a lot of the precursor stuff, but I was not actively engaged and was not boots on the ground in any off or overseas missions. When I was ETSing, I knew I needed something else, so I became a firefighter. Before all this started, I was dabbling in the world of law enforcement, and as I was building this concept, so roughly 60% of all of our firefighters are volunteer firefighters. And I was finding that many of them are giving all their resources to their PPE, to their apparatus, to their infrastructure, to their trainings. And at the end of the day, there was nothing there was no vacations. There were these families are absolutely sacrificing everything for their communities. And I'm like, you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this. And so I started developing this one-stop shop kind of concept, which we're not even close to touching as our flagship mission. And I started realizing, okay, well, the biggest pieces that we're struggling with are post-traumatic stress. Our first responders deal with this on a daily. 600 million first responder calls a year, and we've got 30 million first responders in the country. You can't cover all of that. And we're talking about scraping bodies off the roads. We're talking about running into burning buildings when people are running away from them. All these pieces. And then to come find out, and I'm like, mathematically put it all together, it's like a lot of these are our veterans as well. And our veterans, we're losing, some use the number 22, we use 17 to 75, 6,000 veterans commit suicide a year for the last 20 years. And it's through our findings, we're finding that when people are reaching out to the People's Patriot Project and finding this as a resource, 90% of the people that reach out to us just want to know someone else is on the other line or on the other side of the line. And so we've made a commitment to be there. Many of them are saying, we've reached out to organization A, B, C, and D. We actually have it written in our bylaws. We're here to cut the fluff. We try not to be buttholes about it, but there's some people that really there's roughly 50,000 veteran organizations across the country, 46,000 that are saying they're helping our veterans and first responders. Well, we realized we needed to come up with a concept that showed there really are no cracks. We're just all fighting for all the same scraps. And so if you're an organization that is saying you're doing something, I mean, your heart might be in it. You might want to do it. But if you're just saying you're doing it and you're not doing anything, then either move aside or come aboard or let's find out what we can do. Because there are people, when a veteran or first responder reaches out for help, they're in crisis right now. They haven't pre-planned their crisis. They need help. They need an answer. They need a resource right now. And that's a tough piece we constantly preach it on our show that we have to be ready so we don't have to get ready. And that's mission ready. We have to be mission ready. And sadly, there's sometimes we have to tell people. Now, the really cool thing is, because since we started our show, we have over 250 affiliate boots on the ground organizations across the country that we've built relationships with. We have influencers. We've really focused in on musicians for a number of reasons. We can get into that if you ask some other questions about that. But our musicians, we call them influencers. We have our podcasts like you, and we don't call you we, but we want you to be part of we. I see your we, the people sticker up there. But I mean, the really cool thing is if someone calls us and says, hey, we've got someone, and this legitimately has happened, we've got someone on the side of the road in Florida, and I have no business being in Florida. We're in Minnesota, me and Andrea. But we accidentally have created this national following, which is really exciting. And we had someone next to him within 40 minutes. We have kind of a standard of 20 minutes or less. But from Minnesota, with our connections, with other resources, we were able to have someone by his side within 40 minutes. And 40 minutes is too long. I'm going to say that right now.
You say it's too long, but like you said, there's a lot of people out there, Mark, that claim to be helping and claim to be doing something. And the reality is the first step is getting somebody on the line, right? I mean, if they know to call, if they know to call and they have that wherewithal to do so instead of taking action, that means they're looking for help. And if they're looking for help, if they've got a willingness, if they've got a desire for that help, that 40 minutes may seem like an eternity to some people, but to that person, especially if they've got a solid resource on the line and they know there's help on the way, a lot of people can work through a lot of things in 40 minutes, especially if they know they've got that buddy, if they know they've got that resource, if they know they've got somebody coming, they can hang on. I mean, it may seem like forever. 20 minutes is better than 40, but 40 minutes is a lot better than a lot of people that make false promises and say things and try to pass themselves off for something they're not. So I wouldn't cut yourself short there. There's a lot of things you said there, Mark, that I really want to unpack is just, they're the first responders and the people who are taking care of this country and the homeland, and how that's tied to those who have deployed. Just because you didn't deploy overseas, a lot of people talk about that. I never deployed anywhere myself, but everybody played a part somehow. Some bigger than others. I didn't do nearly as much as most. But the reality is those people who actually sign up, and just the fact that you sign up, you make that commitment, and that's a commitment that so many people in this country right now, I think, take advantage of, or just don't even really take into consideration what that means. And then the different things that are happening in our country, within our own borders, and the assault on law enforcement by certain politicians, things like that. So there's so much to unpack in what you said there. But the important thing for people to realize is, without our military, without our first responders, whether it be the EMTs that are running around in that ambulance, or the firefighters that are putting out that fire, or the policemen that are responding to that call, these are all the people that in an instant their life can change, because they're seeing people at their worst. They're seeing the worst things that happen in our lives, in human existence. And that's what they deal with day in, day out, event after event after event. You talk about the number of events that require a first responder within this country, and the number of actual first responders that are dealing with those events. Those people are dealing with traumatic instances over and over and over again, over a career of, I know for some people, they just, it's months, for others it's years, for others it's decades. But those people, we cannot overstate the importance of those people in keeping us safe, keeping a civil society. So I just wanted to throw in my piece about that, because while these things get very wonky in some people's eyes and they just don't understand why it's so important that we get or have a support system for those people, these people are really the ones that keep keep a crazy world somewhat sane.
Well, we use this narrative regularly, and I just want you to think of this concept. You're in a crisis, and I don't care who you are, what color skin you are, what creed, what relationship, who you're having sex with. There is no screening when you dial 911 to say, "Oh, who are we helping?" There's no screening to that.
No.
The other piece of that is, how would you like to make that call and there's no one else on the other end of the call, because they're dealing with their social emotional stuff, their PTSD, they've had enough. I'm telling you, our police officers, I wouldn't be a police officer in this country at this time if you paid me $1 million, just because of the treatment of our police officers. We get a couple bad eggs out there that do very bad and dumb things that are causing a little bit of strife, a little bit of trauma, a little bit of discourse in our society. And they're tagging it to every single police officer. And the first thing that I want to get on this pilgrimage to say, get rid of the word of police brutality. Get rid of that word. Many of you are experience regular standard, your violation to societal standards, and we're calling it police brutality. Don't get me wrong. I know there are police that are stepping over the line. I know there are. But we are in a time and place where I think this is the conversations that are happening. I think our police are now starting to hold our other police accountable. And we're starting to make some changes. And there are changes that did need to be made.
Yeah, that whole thing with people or police covering up for the bad ones. I mean, they're from I've talked to several police officers, and the one thing that they can't stand the most is, those bad apples that give all police a bad name, right? So we aren't living in the days of Serpico. We aren't living in the days that there's more bad than good, and people are covering up for the bad ones. May happen on occasion. There's no absolutes in this world. When people become certain about absolutes, they're most oftentimes wrong.
Well, we live in a significant comfort, and you call it privilege if you want, but we all have it. I'm just going to say that right now. Have a conversation with me, and that's reverting back to your piece where it's just about having a conversation. We all get to lay our big fat heads on the pillows of freedom every single day, not worrying about what's coming in our back door, and knowing that if something is going south, all I got to do is pick up a phone and someone's going to come bail me out. Mm-hmm. And it's time. It's time to look at the man in the mirror, little Michael Jackson. Look at the man in the mirror, look at the woman in the mirror, and take some ownership and be part of a solution. And being part of the solution is making yourself a better person. Right. And that's a holistic approach, and we talk about that regularly.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I talk about most. And you guys probably know this if you spent much time following the Derate The Hate podcast. I talk about personal accountability. I talk about that gratitude piece, right? We have to be grateful for the fact that we live in the greatest country on this planet. We have to take personal accountability and realize that our actions all have consequences. So our bad actions are bound to have bad consequences. It's our responsibility to learn from our own mistakes and take that and better the world that we live in. Once we start focusing on ourselves, we can be the change that we want to see in this world, and we can start taking care of each other. Lead by example. I know these all might seem cliche to some people out there, but the reality is this. When we start cleaning up our own backyard, our neighbors take notice. And when our neighbors take notice, they start to clean up theirs because they don't want to look like any number of words that I could come up with, but they don't want to look like that person in the neighborhood, right? So the reality is this, is when we start to take accountability for our own actions, just like you said, Mark, we start to take accountability, we make ourselves better, the world around us starts to get better. Just like my friend Paul Roscoe White talks about the 1 of 5 project and just being, well, so many people have talked about this and there's different ways of looking at it. But when we start to be better, people around us start to be better. It's just a natural thing. The people will gravitate to what they see and what they want to be. So if you're a bad person, chances are you're either running around with bad person or bad people, or you're making people bad around you. It's going to happen, right? So you want to be a better person, find better people to hang out with. You want to be a better person, start looking within yourself and seek personal accountability and see how fast your life changes when you start doing better things. It's just the right way to do things. It's so much better. Getting back to, and I want to get Andrea in the conversation. Andrea, talk to me about some of the things as the executive director, some of the things that you guys are doing, with this project to, and this is, obviously for the listeners, but to make them comfortable with the People's Patriot Project and how they can know when that phone, when they pick up that phone, when they dial that number, they've got somebody on the line and it's going to be a productive call. It's going to make something happen.
That is so, yeah, I want to add, so a little bit of a tag onto your conversation. We have always looked at first responders because you spoke about the trauma and the similarities and the ick that they see and deal with on the daily, some of them. And so the trauma ends up being a lot like what our soldiers experience, deployed mostly. And that's not to lessen anything that you learn even when you're not deployed, but you still signed up for the same type. It just, it's a matter of timing. And so, so that's why we kind of put them in there. They're facing those same challenges. And so the second point to that is the crossover. And I'm not a veteran and I haven't been a first responder, although bartending and teaching can count for some, I think. Some war zone.
It get a little sketchy at times.
It can be a ride, but no, well, mother of 5 too. No, I'm kidding. But because the crossover, and I saw this right away when I jumped in, into the nonprofit, we talked to so many of our people who are Leos that they were military police or they're EMTs and they were, it just all crosses over. And I think maybe even the firefighter world might be the bigger piece that I've seen here in Minnesota when I come across firefighters. And so that all just felt natural for us to include all of that. And so I wanted to start with our big piece that we work on mostly is lighten the load. And that can be, it doesn't matter. Your fire hose is a load, your fire truck is a load, your battle buddies are a load, your pack is a load, your rucksack is a load. And so to lighten the load in terms of coming back and trying to refit into the world after all that you've seen and done and places that you've been, we've come across something that helps. Something so easy for us because we're here and we do this daily and we've been doing it a long time. And for me, being a civilian, I don't know differently. But something as easy as you need some groceries for this week, that's easy. What's the bigger piece we need to look at? So we can take care of your groceries. We can take care of catching up your rent, your bills. You need a job. We can reach out to our network. Daycare, we can reach out to your network. We're working on one right now where a young firefighter, I don't know, you can't make this one up, but wife has a critical pregnancy and husband goes in for surgery. And while he's in surgery, she has an emergency C-section at another hospital. They have a little one at home. And then the baby has to go to another hospital. So the three of them are in 3 different hospitals, and the baby's with in-laws, and doesn't want any help. Doesn't want any help. The whole department wants to help. He doesn't want any, nope, not going to be. And so we're trying to figure out how to help without him knowing that pipeline to his help, so to say.
Right.
Because of the stigma, right? There's that stigma on top of it. You're right here. You're in your community. You can't admit any weakness. That's not a weakness. That's a pile of things that just happened. It's not a weakness.
Everybody needs help sometimes.
Right. So we had to lighten his load, right? Let's just like, you got some medical bills, let's get rid of them. And that will help lighten your load. Stop worrying about tomorrow. I had another one up in the North Dakota area. Same kind of thing. We didn't expect this baby. Criminy, we're old. We're not in a good place in life. We already have one that we were taking care of financially, And so what can we do? Shoot, what can we do? You got a credit card? Maybe we can help you pay that off or get you in a spot. I know there's some great financial helps as well. Okay, so that's our lighten the load. We do Christmas on top of that. And that is just, if you celebrate Christmas or a holiday, I know it's not always Christmas, but that, and I know if for Kristen, we're looking at those types of holidays, are big family gatherings as well. And there are some gifts and dinners that go with it. And man, we put on a couple big Christmases for people that we backed away, and we're like, shoot, hope that didn't wreck them for later on in their lives.
Our first one, we ruined Christmas for life for this family because we pull up with 3 truckloads of stuff, and this kid is
a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, we didn't have time. It was so short notice, and I'm just like, how do we divvy this out? We've got to set a standard or precedence of, you don't get the full 3 truckloads next time. You're going to get a couple presents, and we'll take care of the family. But we wrecked it for those guys.
Yeah, President 2 for each one of the youngsters, and a turkey and some taters, but
we got better with each one, because our second one too, and it wasn't even a financial thing. It was a new amputation. Right. Yeah. And mom's off working and going to school, and 100 things going. 2 little kids, loses it one day because he can't make an egg because it's not working from his wheelchair.
Right.
And I mean, just it's the stupid little things like that. You're like, what am I doing? I can't even make an egg for my kid. This is dumb. And so you get that phone call. You're like, hey, what are we doing? We can make peanut butter and jelly. Put the eggs away. I know that's not what the kid wants, but we'll, tell me Andrea is coming over from next door and we'll figure this out. So they weren't going to do a tree. Well, we brought a tree and caribou and a million presents and some outdoor lights. We took them to Bentleyville, and it was an amazing Christmas. And again, I don't know, they might have really cool Christmases, but it won't be that one again. And so, I mean, just lighten the load. He's in a great place now. The prosthetic came on, they had their house rearranged and actually I think have a new house now, and so things worked out. Another piece of lightening the load, and through this we started doing a live show to share these stories. Man, I'll never forget, we ran into just a string of amputees, and just each one could help the next one. And so telling and sharing that story is an amazing piece of everybody's load. You put your load on the platter for everybody else to hear, and then they know that they're not the only one suffering. We get all kinds of phone calls after that, and messages, usually more than phone calls these days, but just saying, hey, thanks for putting these people on. It's nice to hear that other people are in this boat and feel the same way. And in a quick turn, that's how it brought us to this music thing. So we might have had one little stem that wasn't in our original plan, this music thing, because a lot of these stories come from musicians who their healing piece was finding their music, writing it, sharing it, performing it. And so now we've had this, we have over 100 musicians that we're in touch with that.
Incredible. Yeah.
They're veterans and Leos. And that's what our last event was, that I told you my head was spinning. I didn't even know where I was, but and that is their message many times is, if I can reach one person with my words, I'm good. That's a job well done for me. And so those who have been there and done that have the best messages sometimes.
Music is one of the most therapeutic things out there, right? I mean, it's people's escape. They get lost in, whether it be listening to music or creating music or even writing the words or writing the music, whatever. I mean, it's one of the most therapeutic things out there, and it's a comfort for a lot of people to be able to express themselves in that way. And but the bigger point of this conversation that I'm just absolutely loving, Mark and Andrea, is just the fact that touching people and reaching out and just providing that comfort, providing that avenue to lighten that load when there's, because when people feel lost, when people feel like they've got no place to turn or nowhere to turn, it's so important for them to have somebody on the other end of the line, right? And it's just we've all got our storms. Everybody's got a storm. They're either coming into a storm, coming out of a storm, or they're right in the midst of a horrible storm, right? And knowing that somebody's got your back, knowing that somebody's got your six, is incredibly important. It sometimes it's just knowing that somebody's there. They don't even have to pick up the phone. Just knowing that that's an opportunity, that knowing that that's available to them, is sometimes the comfort that people need. So organizations like this, the People's Patriot Project, is absolutely crucial, for those that really deserve it the most. And God bless you for doing it, and the fact that you're able to share your stories. I'm certainly glad that you guys are sharing your stories here with me today on the the Derate The Hate podcast, because again, there's way too much toxicity out there, way too much toxicity online and in the world, and that toxicity often gets the most attention. That toxicity is that toxicity will make it halfway around the world before civility and just beauty will get its first like and share. And it's things like this, it's projects like this that really make the difference. I'm involved with, I know you guys said that this was originally the We the People's Patriots Project, and I'm part of an organization called Braver Angels. I talked about that in the pre-show a little bit. That organization, Braver Angels, has an offshoot called the We the People's Project, which I'm part of the leadership group in that We the People's Project. And it's where everyday Americans get a chance at the podium, right? People who are often seldom spoken with, get that chance to speak their mind, talk about their experiences in life and how they feel about the issues and what. So a lot of times it's really about that conversation, right? Finding somebody that is willing to listen and being, non-judgmental, or having that conversation in a civil and curious way, and just knowing that somebody is there, knowing that somebody is there, and I've got a place where I can do things. So it's organizations like this, like Braver Angels, like the People's Patriot Project. People have to be able to express themselves in a real way and talk about the storms that they face, talk about the storms that they are going through or they've been through, and find other people that can relate, or find other people that can help, or maybe just help themselves, help the people that are doing it. That's how we better this world, right? And that's what it should be about, is better in the world in which we live. And you guys are doing an incredible job with this project. And I just thank you for it.
Well, thank you for having us on. I like the way you say that, one attitude at a time. I mean, we're in such a world of it's not my fault, it's COVID's fault, it's whatever's, my mental health. Yeah, you probably have all those things, but stop using that as a crutch. Stop, put it underneath you and use it as a step, and let's get moving on what we need to do. And letting them talk it out. As you were talking, relationships is one of the best things that we do. We can pay your rent, but we're probably your friend at the end of the day. And that's really relationships is one of our biggest pieces. because you also need to feel valued and you need to feel worth it. And we just listen. And by listening and letting them speak, I tell the kids this all the time because they're like, Eichmann, you didn't tell me your ideas. And I'm like, hey, you spoke your own, you figured it out. You went through your path. It's your path to figure out. It's not mine. And that's the same with these adults sometimes. If they don't find a solution, at least they come up with an idea for the next step. And so that's a big piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark, some final words.
When you're talking to us as a whole potpourri, one of our marketing and branding people right off the bat said we needed to specialize. And I from the very start, refused to specialize, PTSD, military sexual trauma, drug addiction, alcoholism. We have a ton of people that are out there in need. And the truth of the matter is we're not here just to help veterans and first responders. We help everyone that reaches out to us. We are focused on our daily heroes because we think it's essential. We need to have them mission ready, and we need to support them. And that's I'm 100% biased in my opinions because that's the roads. I can't imagine what it was like coming home as a participant of the Vietnam War and just not being able to come home, literally, emotionally. There was a physical body that came home, but the emotions never came home. And so that's one of our battle cries. Let's bring them all the way home. We actually even had one of the musician groups that we had make a song in regards to those exact topics. And we love everything that we're doing. We are selfishly doing this because we do think that to serve is therapeutic. And it's the piece that I was looking for after my time in service. And I did both. I did police, fire, EMS, and military. And I still have the need and the desire to serve my community. And we do regularly ask our audience, what are you doing? It's really that simple. What are you doing? If you don't like the way things are, what are you doing? It's really simple. If you're looking for a place or an opportunity to serve, the People's Patriot Project is a place we can plug in a number of ways. People have been asking us to create chapters across the country. I don't know if we're quite ready for that. You're all family. That's what it is. We don't need to necessarily tag each other. I'm from Alabama. We the people. To help you out, if you wanted to use WeP3, we use that regularly because it's a lot
That's easier.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And
thanks for having us.
Oh yeah, no, it's been incredible. It's been a great conversation, and I think this is going to be the first of many because I definitely want us to stay, affiliated, and I think we've got a lot of work we can do together, moving forward. Very much aligned. I talk at the end of every show. I talk about, what are you doing today to make your life a better life? What are you doing today to make the world a better place? Just what you said there, Mark, is what are you doing, right? What are you doing? Because it really comes down to each of us as individuals and what we're going to do to make this world a better place. And if we start in our own backyard, like we were talking about earlier, start in our own backyard, just watch how fast it grows. It's an incredible thing to do. So there's organizations out there, the People's Patriot Project, Braver Angels. You want to get involved? Get involved. Check out the show notes for this episode. This is going to be a great episode. There's going to be an ongoing relationship between the People's Patriot Project and the Derate The Hate podcast. I'm very much looking forward to it. And thank you both very much for what you're doing. Keep it up and God bless you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us, brother. Patriot Pride.
Friends, if there's anything in this episode that provided exceptional value to you, please make sure to hit that share button. Share it with your friends, share it far and wide. And of course, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe right from our website so you can get the Derate The Hate podcast sent to your email inbox every week. So this is Wilk wrapping up for the week saying get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. If there is something that you would like to share with me, you can catch me on most social media platforms, or you can email me directly, wilk@wilksworld.com. With that, my friends, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week. Take care.